Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Carlos Mendez, CA Mainframe Security Users Group President. Thank you all for attending this meeting of the user group, listening to this recording. Today's meeting with the remembrance of those who lost their lives and who suffered physical or emotional injury on this fateful day 13 years ago, December 11th, 2001. Offer our condolences to all who have suffered loss and sympathy and comfort to all who endure wounds inflicted that day. Our meeting is scheduled for today because I believe those whom we mourn want us to carry on, are and will forever be relentless in our effort to share knowledge and exchange ideas. Today, an update on CA World. Excuse me, I got the order wrong here. First, we'll have a overview of Java on ZOS by Bob Bennett, Senior Principal Software Engineer. And second, we will have a update on CA World 2014 by Nancy Newfield, and a presentation on ideation by Carla Flores. So I'd like to hand it over now to Bob Bennett.
Thank you, Carlos. Bennett, I am with the Mainframe Course Development Group here in Islandia. Let me see if I can figure out how this works. So here's the next slide.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So I was asked to do a brief overview of the Java environment on ZOS. So I'm just going to kind of go through installation and deployment process, what the execution environment looks like, and basically how the pieces fit together. Including how do you configure the VM and what kind of options go into that, and parameters that affect performance. Also, talk a little bit about what kind of diagnostic information you get from Java on ZOS when things go wrong or when you need to figure out problems. And so I'm going to give you some links to find more information. It's a really big subject, and I'll be able to cover much of it in half an hour. So hopefully with all these links at the end, it'll give you some directions to go if you want to get in deeper. First off, the JDK, there's two ways you can install it. The SMP method, I'm not intimately familiar with because I'm in a development group. The target is a ZFS file system that contains all the JDK files, and additionally there is a load module that gets installed into the SIEA link E library. Not SMP method. If you want to, you can download a compressed packs file from the IBM website. You need to be registered with IBM to do that. You should, once you have the compressed packs file, create a dedicated ZFS system to put the JDK on. Follow steps in the README closely, especially the preserve extended attributes options on the packs command. I've seen a number of people that have missed that option and ended up having problems when trying to run their Java programs because there are some shared objects in the JDK file system that need to have program control and the authorization bit turned on. Additionally, if you're running the install PACS file, you need to have the number of security permissions for some BPX resources, such as BPX Superuser and various file attribute permissions in order to properly set the bits on those files. Once you have Java installed, you need to mount on a meaningful file system mount point. Something encodes the there's actually a 31-bit Java developed and a 64-bit, and those are separate installs. I'm going through the 64-bit JDK here. They're pretty much the same the way they operate. So you file system, you set the Java home environment variable. And one thing I've noticed, if you install JDK under SNMP, there are extra directories, user PP Java under the ZFS file system target. If you install from a PACS file, the JK is only the one directory, which is 7.0_64 under the file system mount point. Need to make sure you add the bin subdirectory of the Java home to your path and Java-version, and you should get a bunch that tells you what when the JDK was built and what the maintenance level and stuff like that. Once you get it installed, ready to deploy the JDK, you should change the mount attributes on the Java file system so it's mounted read-only. There's nothing in the JDK file system that needs to have write access under normal conditions. So to maintain the integrity of the JDK files, the file system should be mounted read-only on all the systems where you're using it. And read-only, then you can mount the same file system on multiple systems that have shared data. Although it's possible to have multiple releases and maintenance level of the JDK. You have to be aware that the batch launcher program, JVM LDM 6, that gets installed with the JDK, the maintenance level of the batch launcher needs to match the maintenance level of the JDK. IBM recommends that by default it gets installed into a linked list library, but as long as it's APF authorized, you can put it in the step lib if you need to reference different maintenance levels of that. For our environment, and an environment that doesn't require handy access to different levels, it's generally we mount JDK on a mount point, and system programming department or whoever's maintaining JDK will make that point to the latest installed maintenance level and have the matching batch launcher in the linked list. far as maintenance goes for JDK, IBM generally doesn't provide PDFs. They give you all the maintenance in a new service release that comes out just about every month or two. There's a new service release for Java 7. Okay. Now, as far as the execution environment, well, the JDK is a portable language environment. In other words, it's JDK in a version that you would download from Oracle and install on your Windows system. It's going to look very similar to what you have in the JDK file system on your ZOS system. And the difference that in ZOS, when you run Java, it's actually running as an LE application under the language environment under ZOS, just like the other C program. But as far as the code goes, the Java code can be built on any platform and executed on any platform. So the code that gets built, if the code can get built on a Windows system, Linux system, and the output of that build can be copied and run without any changes on the ZOS system. There are some exceptions in terms of IBM provides some classes that are for Java for the JDK that are not portable to Windows and Linux, and that's accessing UOS objects such as data sets and partition data sets and MBS console and the SAF, which is the secure standard security interface. There's classes for doing things like resource checking and authentication that are not portable to other platforms. Java can run in either the USS environment via the Java command, or you can run it in batch through the batch launcher that I talked about earlier. If there are other things you want to do with Java on ZOS that maybe require access to assembler APIs or C APIs that aren't normally accessible in Java, it is possible to write your own C programs. Can be called via the Java native interface from those functions. And so then what would happen, you'd have a Java class that loads a load module and resolves entry points into that and calls into the load module to perform the work they want to do. Basically, in Java, this is a very simplistic representation of the life cycle of the Java application. So start with a Java source code. I'm not going to go into what the source code looks like. That's it would be like a hello Java. When you compile Java with the Java C command, produces something called a hello.class file, and that's the class file is a Java equivalent of a CSEC in ZOS or an object deck, and then you would run the Java command to actually execute the hello class. So the Java C, the compiler, and then Java is the processor, the thing that actually executes the code that comes out of the compiler. If you have bunch of classes that have similar function are meant to be called by other classes can be combined into a jar file. File is the equivalent of a link library in ZOS. And it's basically, well, the format of a jar file is as a zip. It actually looks exactly the same as a zip file, but it contains class files. It can contain various other resources. It can be simple or very complicated. And you can reference a number of them when you execute a Java class. The I have here is a one jar file. So this is hypothetically, if hello class was to reference some jar file that had classes that it needed, say a salutation.jar file, we need to include that jar file in a class path when we execute hello. In this example, we are executing Java in the command line, specify class path, current directory, and salutation.jar. Next example, executing hello through the batch launcher, JVM LDM76. Now the batch launcher is what you're going to see when you execute things like the Tomcat server or the JBoss server, which we use for things like CSM and Chorus. There's going to be, instead of the simple salutation.jar in the class path, there's going to be actually hundreds of jar files that get referenced through the course of something like a Tomcat server, and there's going to be different ways of find those. I'll just go through the basic components of the batch launcher. There is the arms of the batch launcher is the main class that will be executed. In this case, hello. The D and V input is probably the most important piece. That defines all the variables and options that get passed to the JDK. So very as simple as possible input for D and V. We have a home set the point where the JDK is. We need to lib path so that Z knows what directory to look for the library that contains the JVM code. And JVM LDM76 is going as an LE application, but it's going to reference a shared object called libjvm.so that is going to actually perform the Java virtual machine work, and he needs to go through the standard USS lib path to get that. So any JI modules, they need to be included. The location of those JNI modules also need to be included in the lib path here. We set another environment variable called class path. That's where all the jar files are. Here we just have a bunch of output from various things. If you have an JNI module that writes the standard out, that will go to sysprint. Output of the batch launcher goes to sysout. Output of the Java program goes somewhere else. So it's easy to tell output is coming from where. Additionally, you have the option, since JVM is running as an LE application, if you want to specify the runtime options, you can include them in the CE ops DD statement. See how much time I'm going to do here. I'm good. Okay. It's complicated applications. You may want to pass more parameters to the application. It uses a mechanism called system properties, information to applications, and that's generally passed on the command line by something like a -D option, where you get property name and a value. For example, if we wanted, if the hello application to check the value of system property language to determine how to say hello, we would be able to pass language property with a value when we execute hello. In the JVM batch launcher, there's another mechanism for including Java options, and that's a environment variable called item Java options, where we would that. And if you look at a typical Tomcat or JBoss installation in the standard env, you'll see a lot of these passed in one big Java options variable setting. In addition, can pass various execution options to the JVM to execute a Java program. There are some special system properties and other options for the JVM that affect the operation. I just listed a couple here. I've got a reference here to some documentation that goes over all of them in detail. Heap size is probably the more important ones, especially for a large application server like Tomcat or JBoss. Sets the maximum size of the Java heap to megabytes. And so now what the Java heap is, when you start the JVM, it's going to an malloc or a get main of basically size of the Java maximum heap, and it's got the GM is going to internally manage that large storage area itself when they're running, and if they objects, as they create objects, the image for the object is going to get taken out of this Java heap, and as execution continues and more objects are allocated within the heap, and the various Java classes the objects anymore. There's no concept in Java of a free main or freeing storage. Will happen. The JVM kind of keeps track of how much space is left in the heap, and when it's to a point where the heap is starting to fill up, it will go through what's called a garbage collection cycle. It'll go through and find all the objects that aren't being used anymore and give them back to the Java heap. So depending on what's the application, your different levels of performance from different settings of the max heap size. We set it too small, we're going to get a situation where we're going to run out of Java heap and there aren't going to be any used objects left to get rid of, and then we're going to start to see out of memory errors. Or if we're running too close to max heap size, the excessive collection, and that's going to run use a lot of CPU unnecessarily. Set too large, then we're going to see more real storage use for the server. There's a couple of options that are important for 64-bit JVM. One is to use large pages for the Java heap. Normally, I think page size is 4K. If you set the LP option, and large pages are available on the system, a large page is like 1 megabyte, I believe. JVM will allocate the Java heap as large pages, and that's going to improve memory overhead because there's few pages for storage manager to keep track of. There's another one, compressed references, and this is also only for the 64-bit JVM. It reduces the size of object references from 64 bits to 32 bits, reduces the memory footprint, and improves performance that way. Sticks that you get from JDK. They have a number of features for producing diagnostic information. A lot of them are pretty complicated, and they're all pretty well documented in the links I'm going to give you at the end. Additionally, JDK has its own error recovery that traps program checks, produces a report of PSW registers and call stack at the time of the error. It also writes an SVC dump. It is readable by IPCS, and Java core dump, which is a plain text file that's human readable. It also supplies some utility that you can use to some analysis on the Java core dumps. So the SVC dump that gets generated from a JDK is because JDK is running as an LE application, you can use Verbex LE data to look at dump and to look at all the threads. When a Java thread runs, it's basically the second LE thread. It's under a different TCB, and so each TCB corresponds to Java thread. The IBM JDK also provides a nice utility called View that you can actually use to read an SVC dump and get a lot of really good JDK Java specific information out of the SVC dump. And you can use that with either the SVC dumps that are generated from JDK itself, or if you take a SVC dump of Java address space from the console, it can also read those and spit out pretty good information. There's an XDump option for the JDK that lets you have a lot of detailed control over how and when dumps are produced, including things like what errors, what specific errors you generate specific type of dumps for, you can configure it to generate an SVC dump for only GPF errors or for GPF and out-of-memory errors or any other specific kind of exception. That's documented in the links I'm going to give you at the end. Further, there is some utilities, facilities that IBM provides that give some pretty good tools for reading some of these diagnostic files like Java Core and heap dump that can be produced from the JDK. IBM Support Assistant is something you can download. It's a Java-based application, and it has all these plugins for reading various files that are output. Heap dump is a binary file that gets produced by JDK for out-of-memory conditions mainly. That's a very handy thing. IBM Support Assistant facility that lets you look at the heap dump and see distribution of objects and content and things like that. There's a trace facility that lets you do some pretty granular things in terms of tracing classes and making dumps for some advanced problem determination. And finally, I have some links that you can follow for more information about Java. Sample code for IBM JZOS Batch Toolkit, and this tells you use the Java classes that IBM provides that let you do ZOS things. And then there's a JZOS Toolkit Java documentation, which has pretty detailed documentation and all the Java ZOS specific classes. There's other more general documentation for Java version 7. Tells you a lot of stuff about how to install and how to configure the JDK. The command line options are all documented here in this link. I have one more page of links. Diagnostic tools can be downloaded and installed from this link. Then there is also a red book, Java Security on ZOS, which is it's a fairly old. I think it's from 2008, but it's still very relevant. Talks about all the security facilities that are available in Java. And then there's documentation on the JZOS Batch Launcher, the JVM LDM program that I referred to earlier. Tells you what the commands are you can pass to that and how that works. And that's pretty much what I got on Java overview. If there's any questions.
Thanks, Bob. So there are some questions, I think, in the queue here.
All right.
Oh, no, that was just a question to me. Sorry. So I think, Len, you have everybody placed on mute, right? So I believe to unmute, you do a *6 or a #6. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. I'll give you if any, otherwise we'll move on to Nancy. Hello.
Nancy unmuting.
Are you there?
Yep.
My question is, do you know of any of the security clients that are currently utilizing Java and securing components of it through staff calls that are issued within this particular space?
I'm not aware of any that are using the actual, I guess, it's a RACF interface that JVM provides.
Right.
I'm not aware of any.
Okay. It's announced a new piece of hardware that's coming out in the end of the year, and it's going to specifically designed with in mind, porting all of the requests over to a specialty engine to process. Do you know anything about that?
I only know about the Java specialty engine. With support for the Java specialty engine is built into the JDK, and that's why the batch launcher needs to be APF authorized, so it can take advantage of those features. I don't know specifically which JDK is going to be saying the new hardware you're mentioning, but they come up with service releases very frequently, like every 1 or 2 months.
The reason I ask is because the when Java is executing on a ZOS platform, the data associated to it is tremendous. And as a result of that, IBM announced in their new release of hardware that's coming up this year that by placing these types of requests into a specialty engine.
Okay, well then there must be some support in the JDK for that.
Well, I think when the whole JDK over, it's a lot of overhead in ZOS when we try to utilize Java interfaces. And because of the way the trend is going, there's more and more Java that's finding its way onto the mainframe platform. And from a security standpoint and from a system standpoint, always looking for ways to improve the performance.
Right. And so when that happens, that will be apparent to the location.
Correct.
So it'll be a matter of JDK you're running. We're able to take advantage of those features.
From my standpoint, I really enjoyed this entire presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Bob. Anybody else have any questions before we move on to Nancy? So, Len, do you want to go ahead and bring Nancy's presentation up? And Nancy, grab your CA World presentation there, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Colin. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you quickly today about CA World, which is coming up in November. Can you bring the slides, please, Len?
Presentable, Nancy, if you just scroll over to the CA World.
Got it. Thank you. So let me introduce myself. My name is Nancy Newfield. I'm a VP of Marketing in the Mainframe Business Unit. I've been with CA for 23 years this month. Most of that time in the mainframe world, but not all of it, but all the good years were in the mainframe world. And I've been very involved with CA World since the very first one, and I'm sure some of the people on this call were at the very first one way back in the 90s. And it's evolved each time, and CA World 14 is somewhat different than what we've had in the past, but I think it's going to be a wonderful event. It's in November the 9th through the 12th. It's in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay. On the right. Okay, I see it. So with CA World 14, some of the things are the same. Some of the things that if you've gone to CA World before, you know they're going to be great keynote addresses. And we have Magic Johnson giving the guest keynote this year. You know, fabulous event night. Everybody always enjoys that. You know, there's pre-conference education, and we're going to have that again this year. And a lot of the sessions are geared towards education, just like the session you just were listening to about Java. We're trying to educate our customers that come to CA World so they go back to their organizations with knowledge and insight and expertise that maybe they didn't have before. So the exhibition center on the floor is always very exciting. It's going to be much more exciting this year. Part of what makes CA World a great experience for CA customers are the ability to talk to our developers, our support staff, one-on-one, to ask questions that, you know, sometimes over the phone it's not the same. They can't show you their screens as easily. The give and take, the back and forth, it's World, that one-on-one technical discussion is very important. And a lot of customers have told me over the years that really they come to CA World for the networking, the kind of networking you get in the user community, but of course CA World brings in people from all over the world in different organizations. They're not always involved with communities. Sharing ideas. At one point we had birds of a feather lunch tables, and I used to sit at those tables and listen to people, for example, for storage, talking back and forth and getting much more information from each other than they really can get from the CA people. It's sometimes the most valuable part of CA World. So that's going to be part of this CA World too. But what we've done this year, which is new, is we've put all the focus on the exhibition center, because customers told us last time that they didn't have enough time with all the off-the-floor sessions. They didn't have enough time to see the demos. So what we did is we brought the sessions to the exhibition center. We're going to have what we call Cineplex theaters on the show floor. We're dividing the floor into sections. And for you, you have both the mainframe section and the secure center section, which gives you double the amount of information sessions, people to talk to who care about security. So the people spend most of the time on the floor. And the sessions are going to be, to some extent, a more high level than they have been in the past, but not necessarily in the secure center. In the mainframe, because we're covering so many different areas, what we're doing for each area is necessarily going to be high level, but the secure center is going to drill down into a lot of the more detailed security issues. Another thing that's new on the floor this year is something called the Meet the Experts bar. We're going to have people, it's kind of taking the place, if you know about the technical campground. It's going to take place of that. We're kind of putting that on the show floor, and we'll have people for all of the different areas that we have in the mainframe area, including security. We'll have a specialized, what we call genius, at that bar available all the time to answer questions. And we have
that genius will be?
I think Bill Valio is that genius.
Use it.
So Keynotes, Mike Gregoire, our CEO, will give the lead keynote, and the technical keynote will be given by Amit Chatterjee, who's new to CA. And then, of course, Magic Johnson will give the guest keynote on Monday afternoon. And if you've gone over the years, you know how exciting those guest keynotes are. Some of them are quite memorable. And I think this one will be terrific, too. So this is what it's going to look like on the floor. You can see all the different Cineplex theaters, Mainframe in the bottom left, and Secure Center in the middle right. Off to the left is the area where you can have one-on-one discussions. We're bringing all of our CA executives to CA World, as we always do, so that you can arrange one-on-one discussions with people. Some people want to have technical discussions. Some people want to have more business-level discussions. Everyone that we bring from CA will be available for the entire conference. You just make appointments and set up the time. This is a wide summary of what we're offering from a mainframe perspective, and I'll talk about that first. As I said, we're covering a lot of different areas at CA, as we always do. We have 18 demo stations. Many are the same as the ones you've seen over the years. Obviously, one for security, which will include Chorus and our other security products. We'll all have other Chorus roles, DB2, infrastructure management, storage, so you can see those if you want. We're also going to have 3 mobile stations to show new mobile solutions that we're offering this year. And we're launching 2 big things at CA World. One is big data management, and is a bunch of application development solutions that will support CA's DevOps strategy and customers' DevOps initiatives. And we have some what we call sneak peeks on analytics and mobility that are not ready for prime time yet, but they're ready to be demoed. So we pre-conference education have off-the-floor sessions in addition to our Cineplex. And I'll show you a list later of the off-the-floor sessions that we're going to have. There isn't going to be a strong focus on security, but there will be a security roadmap and strategy session. And then there's the Secure Center. So this is where you could drill down into all of the different aspects of security. They have their own 12 demo stations, their own 17 sessions in the security theater. They have a bunch of innovation sneak peeks, and they also have a Meet the Expert bar, which will be 8 security experts. So whether it's identity management or authentication or the cloud or mobility or fraud, whatever you're interested in security, all those people are going to be available to you. Just go over the CA World is a little shorter this year. We're not kicking it off on Sunday night except for partners. The pre-conference education is taking place on Sunday at partner sessions, but for the general audience, it's going to kick off at 9 o'clock with Mike Regoire's keynote. The exhibition center opens, and all the theater sessions begin at 11 o'clock. The first one for Mainframe will be the general manager, Mike Madden, for the Mainframe. And I'm not sure when the security general manager will be talking, but it could be at the same time, and it could be at a different time. It's not 100% clear how that's going to play out. And the exhibition center is open till 4 o'clock when everyone will go into the keynote for Magic Johnson. Tuesday, there'll be technology keynote in the morning, and then the exhibition center opens. It'll be the same with sessions on the floor and off the floor. And the event night is the Fray, which I'm not familiar with, but people in my family tell me that they're really terrific. And then we close at 12 o'clock. The exhibition center and the sessions will be in the morning from 9 to 12. We cut it short a half a day this year because we found that so many people left after lunch on Wednesday, so we thought it made sense to just stop the conference on Wednesday at noon. So a lot crammed in to a very short period. this is a description of our demo stations, and it's very hard to read this, but we have a program guide. I'm just waiting for the final of it, and I can get it to everyone, Len, or you can post it on the community site so you can read this in something larger than 4-point font. But it just basically lists all of the products and what station they're going to be at and what area they cover. And this is hard to read. In the program guide, it'll be much easier. Our pre-conference sessions, our sessions, map and strategy breakout sessions, one for each of our 8 business lines within the mainframe. And then the only track that we're having in the mainframe that's technical is workload. And the reason for that is when we looked at the numbers of attendees for the last CA World, the only track that consistently had 50 people or more in the sessions was workload. And it was sort of the what we were supposed to be striving for is 50 people. So we are going to have drill down sessions in workload, but not in, as we've had in the past, for IDMS, for Datacom, for security, for DB2, for the other areas. But for you guys, gals, the Secure Center is going to give you that drill down detail that you're going to want. Again, this is their 11 demo stations that they have, covering a wide range of security issues. And again, you can't read their sessions. They are available on the CA World site. If you go to the session catalog and you pick a day and you pick security, you can see these also, so you can read them. But they cover a host of technical details. So I'm really happy that for this group, you have both the mainframe offerings and you have the Secure Center offerings. It isn't true for our business lines with the mainframe, but for you, it's sort of a double world. And they have breakout sessions too. We were encouraged to keep our customers on the floor in the Cineplexes as much as possible, but we knew that our customers wanted some drill down sessions, and with 17 slots in the Cineplex, it wasn't enough to cover everything. So the different business units at CA are having breakout sessions off the floor. What's been told is that they're going to be close to the floor, so it won't be all of the walking that there's been sometimes in the past. And I should remind everyone that the early bird discount was extended until September 19th, so that's a week from Monday. So if you're planning to go to World, take advantage of that discount, and I think Len will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's also a discount if you're a member of a user community too. So hope to see many of you at World. I think it's going to be a compact but exciting event, and always love to see our customers there in person, because so much of what we do is virtual, like this on Webcast, and getting together in person really is what makes CA World special, not only for us but for you as well. So we look forward to seeing you. I'll take any questions now that you have about World.
Is there a community set where we can get together as a security community?
No, don't have plans for that. The Community Leadership Summit is being changed. Len could probably comment on what's happening with that.
Okay.
Len?
Yeah, I was on mute.
Sure.
The community-focused programming is really being scaled back this year. I know some of the communities are having events, but the individual boards, I think, are responsible for putting them together. So I'm not close to that, but I'm not aware of anything for the mainframe security group.
Nothing organized at this time. I have an email to see if we can get a room scheduled for a meeting.
All right. After you get off this call, I can go talk to them about that too.
Okay.
So we're going to have a focus team where all the leaders come together?
It will just be networking dinner on Sunday night.
Correct.
AJ and I have talked to a lot of the communities, to tell them that this was going to be a different world, that we weren't going to have the drill down tracks that we've had in the past. And a lot of the communities are doing different things. Some are organizing their own conferences outside of CA World where they can do a lot of drill down sessions and training. Some of them want to do it virtually. Some of them want to do it regionally. So we're working with the communities, and JJ and Len are working with the communities so that whatever you want to do, whatever you think would help your community members the best and would meet their needs the best, we'll work with you on that.
About the agenda? How populated is the agenda at this point? I've done queries through the online on specific topics, and I'm seeing very little out there.
Areas you were talking about, specific security areas?
If I put in a combination of top secret or ACF2, I get one course.
Okay. No, it's not going to be the drill down sessions that we've had in the past for top secret or ACF2. There's just the map and strategy session, and that's true for, except for workload, that's true for all of our business lines. We only have, for the mainframe, 37 sessions between the Cineplex and off the floor. So we weren't able to meet the needs of all the different business lines that come together within the mainframe the way we have in the past. But to be honest, the attendance in the past hasn't been enough for us to justify doing that. It's been going down, each time it goes down a little bit, and we've kind of got to the point where it just wasn't effective. We weren't reaching enough people.
If I can interrupt, I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Is offered, so less people come. Less is offered, so less people come. And that pattern that I've been watching, I too have been attending these things since before it was CA World. Steve Garrett. And value here, high cost, less time, opportunity for interaction. CA is starting to remove any reason to go.
I disagree with you.
It's a hard sell when you try and sell CA World based on a community. In my case, the security community. When for technical direction, technical leadership from CA, and you're not getting that. And it's been true in the past, and we've told you guys this in the past, and you don't listen. It isn't that people aren't attending the sessions. The sessions that you're putting in aren't the sessions that people are looking for. And that's been true for a number of years. And I don't know how else to tell you guys, but we need also with the experience of the user community. There are things that our customers are, your customers are doing that is very valuable to the community, to the security community in general, not just from a mainframe perspective, but an interaction perspective. How do I interact with things like Java, and how do I interact with things like distributed processing, where data is being requested from a distributed environment over into the ZOS side, and how do I ensure the integrity of data flow? Those types of things we're looking for, and we're not getting it. And we tell you every year, but it just seems like it goes on fears.
The point is that CA World is not going to be the forum for that. It's not that we don't want to give you what you want. It's just not going to be at CA World. But tell us how you want it. Do you want it in regional conferences? Do you want a national conference just for security? Do you want a series of webcasts, a whole day of webcasts, a number of days? we'll do whatever works for you. You tell us what topics you want and how you want them delivered, and we can do that for you.
Well, I have perspective. I talked to Bill about that as well, in a separate security conference where we talk on these types of issues. Integrity doesn't stop at one platform. It's multiple platforms. And how to approach it is very, very important. Community, i.e. mainframe security, is very, very deep into this. And we need not only to find out what everybody else is doing, but consolidate that knowledge base and make it available to everyone.
So Carla, we've talked before. We are, resurrecting the in-person user group. So there's one in Plano and one in Lisle coming up, and the Ewing ones have been running. There's other areas of the country where we don't have an office, but somebody willing to host a user group can certainly spin that up as well. And to Steve's point, we need the topics, but we also need the speakers. We're the experts all the time on these topics because we're not in the real world. So we can set up a separate call to brainstorm on, the user groups, additional user groups, and certainly, what do we want to present? What would you do if you came to a security conference? What topic would you want to present? And we're putting that catalog together and figure out, does it make sense to insert into another security conference, or do something smaller and regional in the user groups and just repeat that through a cycle of user group meetings. So if your site would be willing to host a group of people on site, maybe that's a good opportunity for some further west as well. And Steve, to you as well, certainly, having that demographic.
Unfortunately, our local user group will just drop support for it. So
yeah, I know, but yes, I'm working on that.
With the IDMS, what IUA and Cadre are doing for IDMS and Datacom, because they're facing the same issue. They decided to host their own conference, which it's an IUA conference that CA is supporting. They're going to have it at our CA office where the development is located. And for IUA, it's Framingham. For Datacom, it's Plano. And putting together the agenda, they're working with people from CA to get the resources from CA that they need. And they're managing the registration. They're basically, it's their conference that CA is supporting. But they had the same requirements that you did. They wanted to get their people together. They wanted the types of training that CA World is not designed anymore to provide. And your security groups are willing to take that on. We will support you 100%.
And I think that's a great concept and an initiative for them. But that particular user group also deals with information security as it relates to securing the objects in which their particular product provides. And it would be great to have a session to discuss those types of issues as well. The thing about security is that we're not platform, we're not product specific. We're all of those things. We're like an umbrella. We touch every phase of a product going in, being utilized, being installed, because it's going to touch some file that we're going to end up having to secure. And I think if we're going to be doing these sessions around the country, the security community is involved in saying, well, yeah, we can provide a session on that or something. I can't travel around the country doing presentations because my manager's going to ask me, what the heck am I doing? But I think this umbrella type of approach where if someone's going to do a regional user group meeting that's going to cover a CA product that requires security integrity, then I think that we should be able to provide a session for that. But if we know about it, it isn't going to do us any good.
Now about it. that we can
talk about it on the next board meeting. So let's put that on an item on the next board meeting to get a wider view of what the other communities are doing, and then make a decision on where it makes sense to insert security or where it makes sense to do our own. Okay?
Yeah. Can I ask one more question? How would you recommend that I approach my management and my organization in CA world? Because I have a lot of groups within my organization that are thinking of going, but don't see the technical information being disseminated.
I think security, there's a host of technical information. And as you said, security, you're not really concerned about a particular product or platform. It's security is across the enterprise. And I think for security, you'll have an abundance of riches there. I wouldn't say this to all the communities, but for you, because it's a double focus area, I think you get plenty of technical training there.
Well, and having looked at the preliminary agenda myself, I agree with you from a security perspective, but because of the focus that I have within my organization, I also deal with storage management, scheduling, and all operational aspects of CA products that exist within our organization because of my background.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to figure out is how do I sell it that there's something there for all of you to come out technically.
You can sell it that there's something for everyone. For scaling, for workload, yes. There's huge amount. There's a lot of pre-conference education for workload. I think 3 or 4 courses for workload, and then there's an entire track of workload, plus the sessions in the Cineplex, plus the roadmap and strategies for scheduling, for security. I feel confident in saying there's a ton of, and there are a lot of customer speakers coming for workload too. So those areas, I would say you should have no trouble selling it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're running over time, but we have a couple more topics that we wanted to cover real quick because we have something that's going to push out shortly after this meeting, ideation, and we also have Laura Fletcher online who's going to talk a little bit about documentation as well. So Laura, if you're there, if you want to take the first couple of slides and then I'll close out with ideation, we shouldn't hold you guys on the line much longer.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Laura Fletcher. I'm the Principal Information Services Engineer for CA's Mainframe Security Product Documentation. I'm joined by Michael Palionis, who is the Information Architect for the Mainframe Security Product. We're going to give you a quick update on what we've been up to. We're in the process of migrating our product documentation to a new wiki platform. Today, we have the following mainframe security products that are now available on this platform, and that's Cleanup for ACF2, Top Secret, and RACF, which went live in April. The A2 option for DB2, which went live in June, and CA System V Security Communication Server, which includes LDAP, DSI, and PAN, that went live in July. Currently, the Top Secret for them is being created and will go sometime in October. It's a continuing process, and it's going to take us some time to get all our docs out there, but this is what we have. Okay, benefits that we find with this new technology or this new delivery method is it reshapes product doc in useful, searchable, interactive pieces. An intuitive search engine that helps find relevant information quickly, able to export content from PDF or from the wiki to a PDF or ebook files. You have the ability to rate or comment any of the topics throughout the space. Browser accessible and can be accessed via Google or other internet search engines. And we include recordings of Webcast, and links to other sites like support. So this is the CA product documentation landing page. From here, there's a drop-down where you can select the product that you want to view, and it will take you directly to that wiki space. And this is the example, or this is the CA cleanup wiki space. It's a so that you can access information by usage type, for instance, using or installing or messages, from either a table of contents that's on the left or from these information boxes, or what we call facets on the right. Whichever method you choose to use, it takes you to the same information. The wiki has an intuitive search engine, and we have several different ways for you to search for information. You can search in places that make the most, or whatever is relevant to what you're working on at the time. So, for example, you can type a word phrase in the search field that's located in the upper right-hand portion of your screen, and that will search all the CA products on the wiki. Also, type a word or phrase in the search field that's located on the upper, or above the table of contents on the left side, and that searches the entire cleanup space. It searches that you can type a message number in the search field that's located in the messages and return codes facet, and that will search the entire cleanup space for that specific message. I mentioned you can export sec or topics to PDF or ebook files by clicking on the publish buttons that look in the upper right portion of every page. At the bottom of every page, you can rate and provide comments about the topic. The technical content that's in the wiki product doc space is written by CA, but the aspect of the space, your ability to rate and leave comments on a topic, and we're notified when a comment is there, and so we can respond quickly to your comment or concerns. There's also an announcement and news section included on all our landing pages. Here we call information or news about upcoming meetings or links to recent webcasts. Like here we are calling out to, or we put a link to a webcast that's a preparation for OMBS default removal. And besides the typical technical content that's included in product doc sets, we also include links to product downloads, product support, education, and Flipboard. So if you'd check out the cleanup wiki space or any other CA product documentation spaces that are out there, you can go to wiki.ca.com and just use that drop-down menu to select the product that you want to look at. We let you use Google Chrome or Firefox for the best experience. So that I have, if there's any questions.
Thanks, Laura. I appreciate it. Scroll through here real quick since I had these slides combined. So this was just a repeat of what Laura just did.
Can I ask Laura a question?
You absolutely can.
When using this wiki, it's going to scan all of the documentation? Not single?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What I'm interested in is if documentation in a supporting product that I have to provide security over, you usually find is that, oh, that's documented in that product. Will it be available to scan, search?
So what you're asking is if you wanted to search, when I mentioned that you can search across all the different products in that upper right-hand search field. If the doc is out on the wiki, which it will be eventually, like I said, we're migrating all of our documentation out there for all of CA products. So if it's out, we'll search and find what you're looking for the other products. It's just going to take some time to get all our stuff out there, but yes.
Cool. Yes, thank you very, very much.
Sure.
We'll just the next couple of minutes then on ideation. So many of you know, as being a member of the community, you had the ability to vote on enhancement requests. That process has changed over the years several times, and it's actually now migrated to part of the site, an area called ideation. So I'm just going to walk you through what ideation are submit and do, what's out there in ideation. You'll be getting a letter from Robin Wolf. Many of you know Robin. She's on the line. In next day or two, the migration from the enhancement request system to ideation, and then starting now, you'll see that the ideation is active and there are folks actively submitting ideas. We did present this to the Ewing user group a couple weeks ago, and you'll see things out there. So if you in the communities and you see things out there, maybe you've already latched onto it and created your own, but nonetheless, this is just a quick overview. When you go into communities.ca.com, you have a bookmark, you may not. You can always just go to communities and do a search on security, and you'll see the mainframe security user out there. When you go to the main page, if you scroll over to content, and then view all the content available on that page, you'll see a little light bulb here. Try to highlight it here a little bit more for you. A light bulb icon is actually the ideation tab. So what you do is click on that, and it will bring you up, the actual ideation list. So you see the bunch in there already. This is a quick screenshot. There's several of them in there. You can filter. You can do the drop down and look at the stages, how they've been, so far. You can sort by score. So view them. You can. You'll have the ability to vote on them, and I'll show you that in a minute. But an idea. What you would do is you'd scroll down in that screen, and you see create an idea. Go ahead and click on that. Get a form text page to create the idea, so title it, information, and then bottom of the page you'll have to tag it as a category. You can tag it, you can assign it to a category, you must assign it to a category, and then go ahead and click publish. Go up. Went to a specific idea and you wanted to look at it, so this was the first one that was out there, request for LPAR specific access rules. You notice that there are an up and down arrow here. You'll also notice whether or not you voted on it. So in this case, I had not voted on this request. So either give it a green arrow or a red arrow, basically. Thumbs up, thumbs down. That will increment the vote. You can also add a comment when you vote, and you can only vote multiple times, but it will increase or decrease your vote. So if you gave it a thumbs up and then you decided you didn't like it, gave it a thumbs down, it's not going to change the vote count, and it will. It'll change the vote count down. If you give it a thumbs up again, it will go up to that. If you give it 2 thumbs up, it's not going to change this count. Okay, so for that particular user. So that's about it on ideation. Like I said, we're going to be rolling out. You'll get a letter from Laura, and any new enhancement requests we call into support, they'll ask that you put them in through ideation. If you have any problems with it, to reach out, can certainly help you walk through it. And once the process is rolled out, Bill Valia will be communicating with everyone on the review process and frequency of meetings and things like that. So working as a team on the back end as these requests come in. You could also subscribe to the SS feed for ideation, so every time a new one comes in, you would get an email notification. That's what we all do. So if you're interested, in what's out there and jumping on and maybe voting on it right away when you see something, certainly go ahead and subscribe to the feed through the community. But again, this will be the way we vote on them moving forward, and it's an exciting new process. So any questions on that, I'll take them now. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Carlos to close out the call.
If there are no questions, I want to thank Bob Bennett, Nancy. Sorry, lost my notes here.
Nancy.
Yes, okay, thank you. Laura Chair and Carla Flores, thank you for your time and the information. Thank you to Pete and Steve for your questions, and anybody else that I missed as far as acknowledging your questions. I look forward to seeing you at CA World 2014. I will be there in attendance, and hope you will be too. And we'll have another board meeting soon and try and discuss. We will discuss how to get better engage the user community, to get more information about what you want as presentations. By means, don't wait. If you have an idea, please contact me or Carla, and we'll do our best to facilitate that. Others will have another user group meeting, well, let's see, probably in December, I think. So, for your time, and have a good day.
Bye.